The air in Ouagadougou was thick with tension, not the kind that stirs before a storm, but the kind that lingers like a curse. Inside the high-ceilinged presidential chamber of the Koziam Palace, the walls were silent witnesses to a conversation that would change the course of Burkina Faso's history. President Ibrahim Traoré sat behind his polished mahogany desk, the gold-trimmed national flag slouching in the corner behind him like a tired cymbal. His military fatigues were crisp, yet his eyes betrayed sleeplessness. Opposite him stood Colonel Sando Ouedraogo, his closest ally once, now a walking enigma. "You think I don't know what you've done?" Ibrahim's voice was low, calm, but simmering like a concealed fuse. Sanda didn't flinch. "If you knew half of what I've done, you wouldn't be asking questions. You'd be praying." Ibrahim narrowed his eyes. "You were in Ouagadougou last week, weren't you, behind my back?" "Why?" Sanda folded his arms, jaw tightening. "There are things happening in this country that you've chosen to ignore. The mining deals, the ghost militia cells in the east. The French are back, Ibrahim, and they're not wearing uniforms this time." A sharp silence cut the air like a scalpel. Ibrahim leaned back, exhaling slowly. His fingers tapped the desk rhythmically. "I told you, we expelled every French soldier. We took back our sovereignty. Don't twist facts." "Expelled their soldiers, yes," Sander retorted. "But you let their corporations stay, their mercenaries. You didn't end colonization. You just repainted it." A loud thud echoed as Ibrahim slammed his fist on the desk. "Enough. You think this is easy. Every decision I make is a negotiation with death." Just then, the door creaked open and Assata Zongo entered, the Minister of Intelligence. Clad in a deep blue silk robe with a headscarf tightly wrapped, her gaze was like ice wrapped in silk. She hesitated only a second before speaking. "Ibrahim," she said, addressing him directly, not bothering with titles, "we need to talk. Now." Sanda didn't move. "This concerns him too," she added with a sideways glance. Ibrahim gestured for her to continue. Assata pulled a folder from her satchel and dropped it on the desk. The file was stamped classified in blood, red ink. "It's about the convoy that disappeared near the Ghana border. We recovered a satellite transmission," she said. "It wasn't rebels, it was Alpha One." Both men froze. "That's not possible," Sanda said slowly. "Alpha One was shut down after Operation Iron Shield." "That's what you told me," Ibrahim replied, his voice suddenly void of emotion. "Was it true?" Sanda stepped back, glaring at Assata. "You were never supposed to access that file, and yet I did," she said flatly, "because unlike you, I still believe in protecting what's left of our republic." Ibrahim stood up, grabbing the folder. As he flipped through the pages, his face paled. Photographs of burned-out villages, intercepted radio messages, grainy footage of men in black uniforms executing civilians. At the bottom was a signature, barely legible but unmistakable. "Who signed this order?" he asked in a hoarse whisper. Sanda said nothing. "I said, who?" Ibrahim bellowed. Sanda met his gaze and replied, "You did." The room felt like it tilted. Ibrahim stumbled back into his chair. Assata stepped forward. "We checked the authorization logs. The directive came from your secure terminal 2 weeks ago." "I wasn't even in the country 2 weeks ago," Ibrahim said, his voice cracking. "And yet the signature matches," Sander replied. "You see, Ibrahim, this is bigger than either of us." "I want to know what the hell is going on," Ibrahim said. "Now." Sander sighed. "Alpha One never died. It went underground. We used it to do the dirty work. Target rebel collaborators, secure mineral routes, eliminate foreign interference. You signed off on it last year, under the condition that you wouldn't be told about the details." I never would have sanctioned this," Ibrahim said, eyes welling up. "But you did, or maybe someone else used your access," Assata said grimly. "Either way, you're compromised." A sudden knock at the door interrupted the tension. A junior officer entered, saluted quickly. "Mr. President, General Diallo is here. He says it's urgent." Ibrahim looked at Sanda and Assata. "Let him in." General Diallo, a towering man with a face carved by decades of war, walked in and went straight to the point. "There's been a leak," The Alpha 1 documents are online. The entire world is watching now. Ibrahim's heart sank. Who did it? He asked. We don't know, but international media echoes, even the UN. They're calling for your resignation. Sanda turned to Ibrahim. Now do you understand why I met with those people in Kudugu? I was trying to prevent this. Ibrahim slumped into his chair, buried his face in his hands. I tried to protect this country, he muttered. I sacrificed everything, and now they'll call me a butcher. Asada's voice was cold. History doesn't care about intentions, only consequences. Sanda walked toward the window, staring out at the orange-tinged dusk. You have two choices, Ibrahim. Step down and face trial, or fight and plunge the country into chaos. Ibrahim looked up, eyes red. There has to be another way. There was, Sanda said, a year ago. A long silence followed. The walls of the chamber seemed to close in. Ibrahim whispered, how did it come to this? Sanda turned slowly. Because power is a parasite. It eats the host from within. And by the time you feel it, it's already too late. The city of Ouagadougou did not sleep that night. Sirens echoed sporadically across its tense districts, and armed soldiers patrolled major intersections, casting long shadows under flickering streetlights. Inside the presidential palace, however, it was not war on the outside that concerned Ibrahim Traoré, it was the war within. In the dim, lit operations room beneath the palace, a place known only to a handful of trusted personnel, Ibrahim paced, flanked by Asada and a silent Sanda. Large monitors flickered with news broadcasts from across the world, all replaying the same horrifying footage from the leaked Alpha 1 files, civilian executions, secret detainment centers, contracts tied to rare earth mining operations. One broadcast even showed Ibrahim's own face, overlaid with the caption, "The young tyrant, this is a coup without tanks," Asada said, scrolling through social media feeds. They don't need to assassinate you, Ibrahim. They've already buried your legacy. He rubbed his temples, muttering, they don't understand. This country was bleeding to death. I only wanted to cauterize the wound. By burning the body alive, Asada snapped. Tell me, how many of those villages do you even remember by name? Sanda leaned against the far wall, arms crossed. She's not wrong. We dehumanized the cost of efficiency. Now the ghosts are back. Ibrahim turned toward them both, voice rising with anguish. You think I wanted this? I was a soldier. I was never meant to be a politician. I took this job because the people needed someone who could shield them. Shield them from what? Asada challenged. Foreign vultures, yes. But in doing that, you invited internal demons. You gave absolute power to units like Alpha 1. No oversight, no limits. Now you're surprised they went rogue. Just then, an alert chimed from the secure comm panel. General Diallo's face appeared on the screen, his tone grim. We've lost radio contact with Sector 7, and there are confirmed reports of mutiny inside the 1st Armored Division. Someone's rallying support against you. Who? Ibrahim asked. Diallo hesitated. Colonel Bamba. He claims to have documents proving you directly profited from illegal contracts with Vorexis International. That's a lie. Ibrahim shouted, I refused those contracts months ago. Sanda stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Then someone forged your name again. Diallo's voice hardened. Whether forged or not, the military believes him. They're not loyal to symbols anymore, only to survival. The transmission ended. Ibrahim's legs nearly gave out as he stumbled back into a chair. How many more betrayals can one man withstand? Asada approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're not out of options. But the window is closing. We can still neutralize Bamba and seize control of the narrative. Sanda shook his head. No, that path leads to civil war. You know what we should do instead. Ibrahim looked up. You mean surrender? I mean confess, Sanda said, voice unshaken. Hold a live broadcast. Tell the truth. Expose the layers of this mess, including your own mistakes. If we're honest before they can weaponize our sins, we take the moral high ground back. Asada scoffed. And what, expect mercy? The international court isn't known for compassion. He'll be exiled at best, executed at worst. But the country survives. Sanda replied. Isn't that what this was all for? The room fell silent. Suddenly, the door burst open. Captain Idris, one of Ibrahim's bodyguards, entered breathlessly. "Mr. President, you need to come now. The Situation Room has been breached." "By who?" "General Diallo." Ibrahim, Sanda, and Asata exchanged glances, then ran. The Situation Room was chaos. Armed guards clashed with troops loyal to Diallo. The screens were blinking rapidly. 2 officers lay unconscious on the floor. Smoke from a flashbang grenade lingered in the air. In the middle of the room stood General Diallo himself, holding a pistol aimed at the central comms console. "Stand down, Diallo," Ibrahim yelled, stepping in. Diallo turned, cold fury in his eyes. "It's too late." "You gave me no choice." Sander raised his hands slowly. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done months ago," Diallo said. "You let this boy ruin our military, ruin our alliances. Alpha One was necessary, but it was never meant to be exposed. Now you've turned us into pariahs. You want to kill me," Ibrahim said, stepping forward. "Then do it, but don't pretend it's for the country. This is about your pride." Diallo smirked. "Oh, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to replace you." He pressed a button on the console, and suddenly, every monitor switched to a pre-recorded video of Diallo addressing the nation. "People of Burkina Faso," his voice echoed through the room, "this government has betrayed you. But I will restore order. As of this moment, I assume control of the presidency." Gasps rippled through the aides in the room. "You've declared a coup." Asata whispered. "No," Diallo said, holstering his weapon. "I've declared restoration." Before anyone could respond, another explosion shook the palace. Emergency light flashed red. Alarms screamed. "South wing breach." Someone shouted. Sanda drew his sidearm. "We need to get Ibrahim out, now." Ibrahim stared at the monitor, at the image of himself being symbolically erased. "I won't run," he said softly. "Let him take it all." "Let them all take it. You don't get to give up," Asata snapped. "You started this war, now you face it." Another explosion rocked the hallway. Sanda grabbed Ibrahim's arm and dragged him toward the emergency tunnel. "Move." They disappeared into the hidden corridor, the sound of distant gunfire chasing them like a curse. They emerged in an underground safe house outside the city, an old colonial bunker repurposed after the first revolution. Ibrahim sat on a concrete bench, soaked in sweat, still shaking. "I never imagined it would end like this," he murmured. Sanda stood at the entrance, radioing for allied units. Asata paced in circles, fury in her steps. "You still have one weapon left," she said. "What? Truth?" Sanda nodded. "We go live. Tonight, you record your confession and expose everyone. Diallo, Bamba, the French, the corporate interests. If you're going down, make sure you drag the puppeteers with you." Ibrahim looked up, a tear sliding down his cheek. "And what if the people never forgive me?" "Then at least they'll remember you as the one who finally told the truth," Sanda said. An hour later, Ibrahim sat in front of a makeshift camera. The lights buzzed, the air was heavy. He began to speak. "My name is Ibrahim Traore. I was once your president. And I have failed you." He told them everything: Alpha One, the secret contracts, the assassinations, the manipulated elections, his fears, his justifications, his regrets. "I thought I was saving you," he said, voice cracking, "but I became what I swore to fight." When the recording ended, he stood and said nothing. He walked outside into the open air. He looked at the horizon, dark, chaotic, uncertain, and then he whispered, "Let them come." The video spread like wildfire. Within hours of its upload by an anonymous node on the decentralized internet, Ibrahim Traore's confession was streaming across Africa and beyond. Social media feeds, private forums, even underground radio frequencies, all were flooded with his trembling voice, his tear-streaked face, his raw and brutal truth. Some called it bravery, some called it a final gasp of a fallen tyrant. But none could ignore it. Inside the presidential palace, now fully under General Diallo's control, tension hung like a fog. Advisors shuffled about nervously, while Diallo stood watching Ibrahim's confession on a wall-sized projector in the war room. His jaw clenched tighter with every word. "I empowered the Alpha One unit with full autonomy. I believed we needed wolves to hunt the foreign jackals, but I was wrong. I bred monsters." Diallo struck the projector with a closed fist. The screen shattered, glass scattering across the polished floor. "He's a dead man walking," the general hissed. Colonel Bamba, lounging in a leather armchair nearby, raised an eyebrow. That dead man just lit a fuse under every lie we've told for 5 years. Even I'm reconsidering our pact. Diallo glared at him. Don't get noble now, Bamba. You helped write the contracts with Vorexis. You drowned rebels in acid pits for fun. Save your moral crisis for your priest. Ibrahim just did what none of us had the balls to do, Bamba said coolly. He admitted guilt. You should try it sometime. Before Diallo could respond, his chief of communications burst in. Sir, international sanctions have begun. France just pulled diplomatic presence. Ghana has closed its border, and the African Union, spare me the headlines, Diallo snapped. Where is Traore now? We believe he's in Zone 3, east of Kubri. He's being protected by what's left of the Ghost Regiment. Deploy a kill team, no mistakes. The comms officer hesitated. Sir, after the confession, there's chatter, soldiers sympathetic to him, civilians marching, even loyalists in our own command are starting to defect. Diallo's eyes narrowed, then we cut off the head before the body rises. In the dusty expanse outside Kubri, Ibrahim stood beside Sanda and Asada as dozens of villagers gathered around makeshift monitors powered by car batteries. Children, elders, former soldiers, eyes fixed on the man they once called their savior and their destroyer. The silence after the broadcast ended was heavier than the heat. Then an old woman, her face lined with age and grief, stepped forward. She carried a charred photograph of her grandson, who'd been killed in one of the Alpha 1 raids. She looked Ibrahim dead in the eye. Why did you kill my child? His breath caught. I didn't know. He said, I should have known. I failed him. I failed you. The woman raised the photograph, then tore it in half. Then she knelt. One by one, others followed. Some wept, some placed candles, some touched his hand. None spoke. Asada stood behind him, stunned. You exposed your sins to the world, and instead of crucifying you there, praying with you, Sanda answered for her. Because for once, someone in power told the truth. But the peace was shattered when a Ghost Regiment scout raced up on a dirt bike. Enemy drones incoming, and I count 5 trucks of Diallo's forces 10 kilometers out. Asada's face went pale. We have no reinforcements. Ibrahim looked around at the villagers, some armed with old rifles, most not at all. Then we make a choice, he said. Do we die running or standing? What followed was a frantic flurry of preparation. Sanda directed the villagers to dig makeshift trenches. Asata reprogrammed abandoned surveillance drones to jam enemy signals. Ibrahim personally visited each small group, giving them instructions, giving them hope. This isn't just about me, he told them. This is about making sure the truth doesn't die here. As dusk fell, the first wave came. Armored trucks blazed through the hills, spraying machine gun fire. Explosions lit the night, but the people fought, not with precision, but with fury. Old men tossed Molotovs, children relayed messages, women loaded magazines. Even the old woman who'd torn the photo now wielded a hunting rifle with the intensity of a queen guarding her throne. Sanda fired from atop a water tower, taking out 2 enemy snipers before a shell sent him crashing to the ground. Blood ran down his temple, but he rose, teeth clenched. We hold, he roared. Inside the village's hollow, Doubt Chapel, Ibrahim operated the last transmitter, beaming a final message across every open frequency. To those who can hear me, this is not the end, this is the beginning. If I fall tonight, don't let my mistakes be your chains, let them be your compass. And then the wall exploded. 3 masked commandos stormed in, rifles raised. Ibrahim stood still, but just as the first pulled the trigger, a deafening crack rang out. The soldier dropped, sniped through the eye by Asada, who stood on the scorched roof, her own leg bleeding. She reloaded. You die, I kill every last one of them myself. The battle raged for hours, smoke clouded the moon, cries echoed in the night, but one by one the trucks burned. Diallo's forces, ill-prepared for resistance this determined, began to retreat. At dawn, silence returned, fires smoldered, bodies lay scattered. Both villagers and soldiers. Ibrahim walked through the aftermath numb. The old woman was gone. Sanda limped beside him. Asada was barely conscious. They had survived. But at what cost? As they reached the chapel, a voice called out, President Traore. They turned. It was Colonel Bamba, alone, unarmed. I watched the whole thing. He said, from a recon drone, I told Diallo he was making a mistake. Ibrahim's eyes narrowed. So now you switch sides. Bamba raised his hands. I'm here to offer something else, a deal. I don't make deals with traitors. I'm not offering you power, Bamba said. I'm offering you proof, documents, files, locations, of everyone who tried to orchestrate your fall. Vorexis, Dilo, even names in the African Union. Asata coughed. Why give them to us? Because I know what's coming next, Bamba said, stepping forward. You've become a symbol, and symbols scare people more than armies. Ibrahim was silent. You need to disappear, Bamba said. Die in the eyes of the world. Let the truth live, but you must vanish, or they'll spend everything to hunt you. Sanda frowned. You want him to fake his death? Bamba nodded. It's the only way he wins. Ibrahim stood atop the hill one last time. Below, a dozen cameras were positioned. Fires blazed in a circle, mimicking the aftermath of a blast. A drone filmed as a body unidentifiable wearing his clothes was pulled from the wreckage. The world would believe he died in the final stand, and in a sense he had. As he stepped into the hidden transport, guided by Bamba and Sanda, Asata approached. You sure about this? I have no legacy to protect, he said, only a truth to preserve. She reached out, held his hand. Then let this be the end, she whispered. No, he replied, eyes fierce. This is the beginning. 6 months later, Burkina Faso had changed. On the surface, it appeared to have moved on. General Dilo now sat in the presidential palace, flanked by ministers who wore tailored suits and spoke in hollow platitudes. The media, what was left of it, spun stories of national renewal and post-conflict stabilization. Foreign dignitaries returned cautiously, lured by mineral contracts and promises of security. But beneath the surface, the country was boiling. Protests flickered like brush fires. Entire regions defied government decrees. In the north, the Ghost Regiment had rebranded as the People's Guard, and they refused to disband. Whispers of a resistance network spread, carried in code through encrypted apps, smuggled radio messages, and underground pamphlets bearing one symbol, a cracked tear. Ibrahim's tear, though officially declared dead, his face appeared everywhere, graffitied on abandoned tanks, tattooed on rebels' arms, glowing faintly on projector walls in dark basements. The legend had outgrown the man. In a dim cellar below an orphanage in Bobo Dioulasso, a gathering took place. Not soldiers, not politicians, just teachers, farmers, former students, widows, even a retired judge. At the head of the table sat Asata. She wore a long scarf that hid the scars across her neck, the memory of the final battle still etched in her flesh. She unrolled a dossier on the table, detailed maps, troop movements, foreign account numbers. This, she said, is phase 2. The room held its breath. One woman whispered, do you think? He's still watching. Asata nodded slowly. He didn't die for us to be quiet. And so the network grew. Elsewhere, in a sun-bleached outpost near the Libyan border, a weathered man disembarked from a truck, his beard grown, skin darkened from months of sun and silence. He carried no ID, no phone, just a bag of medical supplies and a folded-up photograph of the Burkina flag. He had a new name now. To the villagers, he was Issa, a quiet healer who treated bullet wounds and never asked questions. But every night, he listened to a small shortwave radio he had built himself. He heard the voices, the hope, the rebellion, and he wept, not from sorrow, but from something deeper, redemption, until one night he received a visitor. Colonel Bamba arrived under the cloak of darkness, limping, one eye covered from an old explosion. He didn't knock, he simply entered the shack and sat. 6 months, Bamba said, lighting a cigarette. The world still thinks you're ashes. Easy, Ibrahim nodded. You've built a myth. Bamba continued. You're safer than any man alive and more dangerous. Ibrahim sipped tea. You're not here for pleasantries. No, Bamba said. He reached into his coat and dropped a memory drive on the table. I broke into Vorexis' archive in Tangiers. This is everything. What they did to your country, what they're planning for the next 10, it's unspeakable. Ibrahim stared at the drive. Why give it to me? Bamba looked away. Because I'm tired of pretending I'm not damned. Silence fell. Then Ibrahim stood, walked over to a rusted cabinet. He pulled out a satellite transmitter, built piece by piece from scraps. Then we send it, he said. "No, we don't," Bamba replied. "You send you." Ibrahim froze. "Go back." Bamba said, "Let them see you again. They need more than your ghost. They need your rage. You think rage will fix what I destroyed?" "No," Bamba said quietly. "But the truth will." That same night, inside the presidential palace, General Diallo's celebration was in full swing. Crystal glasses clinked. Jazz music echoed through the marble halls. Foreign investors laughed beside corrupt ministers. Diallo sat in his polished chair, drunk on victory and wine, but then screens went black, every monitor, every feed. Then one by one they flickered back to life, not with programming, not with speeches, but with a face. Ibrahim's face, alive, calm, unbroken. 6 months ago, he began, "I let the world believe I died. I did so to protect the truth from being buried with my body. But now I return, not to rule, not to avenge, but to reveal everything." He held up the drive. "This contains proof, not conspiracies, not rumors, proof of how Vorexis installed our ministers, of how they engineered massacres, of how they funded Diallo's coup, and 10 others across the continent. Documents, videos, orders, signatures, blood money." Panic erupted. Diallo bolted upright. "Cut IT," he screamed, but it was too late. The broadcast wasn't just inside Burkina Faso. It spread to every African nation. Hacked billboards, hijacked feeds, rogue satellites. "Tonight," Ibrahim said, "we choose what kind of Africa we want. One built on silence, or one forged in fire and truth." He ended with the symbol, a cracked tear, and then the screens went black again. 2 days later, General Diallo fled the capital. Bamba disappeared into the shadows again, his work unfinished. Asata stood at the gates of the new courthouse, holding the drive in one hand and a rifle in the other. And Ibrahim, no one could find him. Some say he died for real this time, killed by the same foreign powers he exposed. Some say he lives in the mountains, building a new resistance. And others say he walks among the people, faceless, nameless, listening. But one thing is certain, the man who once ruled with silence broke his chains with truth, and in doing so, he gave a continent its voice.